Welcome to Kumba Software DPAA tutorials. This tutorial is one of 3 in a group of domain management. This one is about chat appliance. So let's get started. So I brought on DPAA. I have a couple of appliances selected and a couple of domains selected. And if I go to the Administration tab, under the Administration tab is a Domain Management tab. And then within the Domain Management tab, there are 3 sub-tabs. The one, Simple Domain Actions, is part of a different tutorial. We're going to cover the Checkpoints tab. Now, we can do a number of checkpoints on the boxes in a number of ways. One is we can just create one right here, and there's a standard naming convention DPAA applies when creating a checkpoint. It'll give it the date and the time of the checkpoint for the selected domains for which you create a checkpoint. You can also quickly create a checkpoint by selecting the checkpoint button located above the domain list in the DPAA tool. There is a difference, however. Within this screen, you can control the name of the checkpoint, whereas down here, the naming convention applies by putting a date and a time on the checkpoint file. So to create a checkpoint, we'll select a number of appliances and select a number of domains as we already have, and then we can select the Create button. It's going to give you a confirmation, so you can go and confirm that, and then DPAA will go about creating the checkpoints for all the selected domains. But keep in mind, because I have more than one appliance selected, this process is going through every domain that exists within these 2 appliances, which doesn't necessarily mean you add a one-to-one. In other words, we're not going to necessarily get 6. If this KES domain doesn't exist in both of appliances, they won't be backed up for both of appliances, or you won't get a checkpoint for both of them. And DPAA knows what domains exist in what selected appliances, so you don't have to worry about that either. In this case, they all exist there, and all the checkpoints are created. When I close this window, this table lists all the checkpoints that are currently created in those domains on the box, which is very convenient because as I move around and start selecting different domains, I can quickly see, I have a couple of checkpoints of this domain. And if you multi-select domains like we're doing here, then this dynamically changes the list for each selection of domains you have. We also have the ability on the screen to set the checkpoint history. So this is sometimes convenient if you're really running a lot of changes and you need to make a series of checkpoints along the way. By default, you can only checkpoint so many. But you can increase that history here and then set the checkpoint history right from this page. Now, the Restore and the Delete buttons are not available to us until we start selecting a checkpoint here. And so if I want to restore, for example, a checkpoint, I select that checkpoint and I select Restore. However, in this particular case, it will only restore the domain checkpoint for this selected appliance in the wing. I can select more than one and restore both of them, or I can select them all and restore all of them. But keep in mind, unlike when you create one where it creates the checkpoint for every selected appliance and domain, restoration is more granular, and you have control over what gets restored and when to each of those boxes. So the convenience here is we have all these checkpoints selected, I can go now and delete them. And deleting is the same way. It's going to delete what we have selected. It's not going to delete what we don't have selected. And so we're going to keep a number of checkpoints still on the boxes at this point. If you do want to delete them all, so you're satisfied with the current backup state or whatever, you can now delete them all and get rid of all the checkpoints as you see fit. And that's it for this tutorial. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, go on to www.kumbasoft.com. You can view all the tutorials there, and don't forget to subscribe. And that way you'll be notified of all the tutorials and videos that we update and create for the product and anything that's new that's in the product for which we create a video. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.